This is my second time recording this video. The first time I had a 45mm that was underperforming, so Laowa asked me to reshoot using a brand new 60mm. This is how things looked the first time around. After their brief experimentations with the rear anamorphic adapter and the wide variety of nanomorphs, Laowa is doubling down, pun intended, in the anamorphic market with Proteus, a Super 35 2x squeeze lens set with 4 focal lengths. I got 2 of them here, so we look at how they fare, and we can see they got better now. We'll start the video with a brief intro to the new lenses, then jump into a comparison with the Atlas Orion 40mm, which is not a perfect match to neither the 35 nor the 45, but lots of specs match up, so we'll see how that goes. After the comparison, I'll talk in detail about the Proteus lenses and some of my findings about them. Proteus in Greek mythology is a god of the elusive, changing seas. And the name brings values such as flexible, versatile, and adaptable. With that bar set high from the name, let's look at what Laowa is delivering here. The 4-lens set is made up of 35, 45, 60, and 85mm. Having a 35 and 45mm seems a bit redundant, but those are the 2 that I have here, so we'll find out how similar or not they are. To start, the lenses look and feel really nice. I mean, they're big, like proper cine-anamorphic size and weight, and it's a little intimidating to use them to just film tests. I like the images coming out of these lenses, and the good old 2x stretch never disappoints for out of focus areas. Minimum focus is great, but not groundbreaking, and my real praise here goes for the back focus adjustment mechanism. Well done there, Laowa. Now, since I had these 2 very close focal lengths and the Atlas Orion 40mm that fit right in between them, I figured we could look at how they compare, even though none of the lenses is a real match. So, shall we? In specs land, they're pretty similar on paper. They weigh exactly the same, but the Orion is less than an inch shorter than the Proteus. Minimum focus is the same. They both deliver 2x squeeze and cover Super 35. Atlas's image circle is 31mm wide, while Proteus's is 33.7mm, so slightly bigger. And those millimeters can be a big deal though. They both share a maximum aperture of T2, but the Orion has more aperture blades and those are curved, creating smooth bokeh even when stopping down, as opposed to the little 10-sided shapes that we can see on Proteus. To make up for that, Proteus has a slightly longer focus throw than the Orion, with 270 degrees versus 300 degrees. And we have filter threads on the Proteus too. The back focus adjustment thing on Proteus gives it a big advantage and simplicity for all the mount swapping business. I've heard countless stories from Atlas owners about the challenges of shimming their lenses after going from EF to PL, or vice versa. The Orions are known for being a bit fuzzy when wide open, which makes the task more complex.
Here we go, and action.
But when it comes to distortion, Atlas has more pleasant barrel vibes, and Proteus has dreaded pincushion trends and cook vibes. Last, in pricing, each Orion goes for $9,000, while each Proteus costs $5,000, which should put them in slightly different markets. I found the Proteus have a very slight win over the Orion in sharpness, and that the Orion has a warmer tone overall. Now let's focus on Proteus. The lenses measure almost 20 centimeters and weigh 2.4 kilograms, which means 5.2 pounds. And that is a lot. To help with that, they come with a 1/4-inch hole for support at the very front, which can also be easily removed. Minimum focus on these 2 comes down to 55 centimeters, which is just short of 2 feet, and focus throw is 300 degrees, giving you tons of accuracy for picking what you want to be sharp on. As we've grown used to expect, both focus and iris rings are geared, and iris ranges from T2 to T22 with 10 aperture blades. The rings are also placed consistently across the set so you don't lose time repositioning your motors after a lens switch. On the front of the lens, besides this super cool oval engraved lens cap, We have 114mm outer diameter for clip-on matte boxes, as well as 105 threads for screw-in filters. This is a welcome addition to cinema lenses, as most of them don't have filter threads. As cinema lenses, they come with PL mount by default, and the kit includes EF mounts as well as the tools needed for the conversion. And this is where I find my favorite innovation about the Proteus set. Behind the iris ring, each lens has a ring marked FA for focus adjustment, which makes life so easy when swapping mounts or even as a general performance improvement. What does this thing do? Well, using the tiny hex key provided, first you loosen the tiny screws, then you can add the little lever to the ring and rotate it. This will change the back focus on the lens, and you use it to make sure the focused image is landing on the sensor perfectly. Due to the nature of anamorphics, whenever your back focus or flange distance is off, performance gets severely hindered. And if you want to understand more of this, go check Module 2 of the cookbook. So back to real life, after mounting the lens to my camera, I went to check for focus. Got to what I thought was the best focus I could do, and you can really see the performance change from the setting that I got was around here. And then after the adjustment, we got to this, and that is a considerable improvement. I locked it again with the hex screws and removed the handle from it to avoid accidents. Now I can rest assured I have the best possible performance with this lens. This is a super good function for a lens with swappable mounts, as that process can easily lead to inaccurate flange distance and again hurt your performance. Now you can get as close as you can during the swap and then fine-tune back focus looking directly through the camera. With that said, the lenses aren't super sharp wide open with noticeable astigmatism and blue fringing. They get cleaner and sharper as you stop down, but the wide open look reminds me of artifacts that I'm used to finding in adapter setups. Breathing is pretty controlled, and we get that good disproportionate magnification that's inherent to anamorphics. Distortion is subtle but pincushion on the two lenses that I had. It's more noticeable on the 35mm, and if you really want to see it go crazy, look at the image full frame as opposed to the recommended Super 35 crop. This brings up the question of coverage. Laowa says these are Super 35 lenses with an image circle 33.7mm wide. This number means we can almost clear full frame open gate for a 2.39:1 delivery. I get some very dark corners, especially at infinity focus, but a 10% crop would solve it. We do have a lot of stronger character on the outer bounds of the Super 35 designed area with stronger distortion and bokeh warping. And for flares, Laowa is doing the same as the Nanomorphs with 3 options: blue, amber, and silver, which translates to white. The ones that I have here are the silver variety, and I think it's my first time seeing flares like this. I like the color and intensity, but I still find them a little too flat, like I said of the Nanomorphs. They still feel like a streak filter flare, just a solid line without much personality. You can also tell the color of the flares in any Proteus by checking out the line under the focal length engraving. It is interesting to see a cinema-oriented Super 35 lens, while so many other companies are rushing to offer full-frame options at super low prices. Proteus comes out as a full set, ready to order, and not as a crowdfunding campaign. Each lens costs $5,000, and Laowa also offers them in pairs, 35 and 60, or 45 and 85, for $9,500. Some of my very nitpicky observations are we could use curved aperture blades. With a count of 10 blades, you can see a little bit of that shape when stopping down. Yes, it's very minor, but I bet it's noticeable enough on the 60 and 85mm. The other thing I noticed is the focus ring has a very loud stop whenever you hit infinity or minimum focus. This is not awfully loud, but it feels like it could use some smoothing and dampening. What are your thoughts about Laowa's new offerings? Do you think they hold up against the already established Orions? Are you also a fan of that back focus ring? I know I am. Please chime in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you next time. Verradans out.